Vehicles had their tires slashed in the 2200 block of College Avenue last night. Overnight, a handful of residents began to discover they had their tires slashed. As of right now, there is no motive as to why it happened. Police are currently undergoing an investigation in the area.
We had 6 vehicles in the overnight hours that had their tires slashed with an obviously a knife of some sort. Individual anywhere from 2 to 4 tires on each vehicle. Probably, as of right now, a random situation where we have had happen. To my knowledge, there's been no other occurrences that happened. Unfortunately, happened in this one particular block.
And police say if you see anything suspicious in and around your neighborhood, you should contact QPD with more information.